So, yeah, so this is a Game Boy game that HAL Laboratory made in '95. A collection of various casino games, poker, craps, blackjack, and a couple others. And what I really want to show here was the clever way a game like this can use the Super Game Boy's palette. Obviously, this predates the Game Boy Color, predates the Game Boy Advance, the GameCube, all of that. But the Super Game Boy was around, and so in a moment I'll show you what that looks like. But at the moment I'm running this just in black and white mode on a Game Boy player to show you what it looked like in black and white. So I'll just pick up one of these save files. This is a second-hand game, so these save files all already existed when I got it. And there are different casinos you can play at. Really the only difference between them being the minimum and maximum bet amount, so it's down to how much are you risking when you place your bets. But there is a fourth one you can unlock according to the instruction manual, which actually I got with the game when I got it. So, just as an example, let's go with Roulette and see how that works. As you can see, the Roulette, of course, has red and black numbers, and so you can place bets on individual numbers like this. You could put bets on groups of numbers, and this is all pretty standard stuff. But you see, instead of red and black, obviously the Game Boy doesn't support colors, so you get black and gray. But I'll just run through this one so you can see how it looks. You can see the black and the gray there. And there you go. And then when you want to quit out of the game, you just press the select button, and that's how you get back to the menu. And this isn't an auto-saving game. You do need to save your progress, or should I say, if you lose a bet, just reset the Game Boy and it won't count. Because, I mean, how else would you possibly win a game like this? The odds are always going to be stacked against you to some extent, because it's a casino. But, yeah, so if you'll just hang with me for a moment. The thing I really wanted to show you is what this game looks like in a Super Game Boy, which I dug out of my basement. Hooked up to a little splitter cable so I can watch it on TV, just like the GameCube. And yeah, the Super Game Boy predates the Game Boy Color, so it was really originally the only method of adding color to a Game Boy game that Nintendo had, and that was done in basically post-processing by a Super Nintendo after it received the Game Boy's output. And the Game Boy game could send various commands to the Super Nintendo telling it to apply certain colors to certain blocks, and doing a handful of other things that were each really only used once or twice, because although the Super Nintendo was very popular, the Game Boy is very popular, so a lot of people had the Super Game Boy, but no one was going to make the way their game worked depend on it. That was just, it would have limited your market to people who had both and had this accessory. So even though there's a lot of things the device could do, it was mainly limited to adding some minor colors like the HP bars in Pokemon Red and Green, and then a lot of games had custom borders that would get applied. And most emulators nowadays support them as well. So you've probably seen some of them before. So if I power on my Super Nintendo, and sorry if the picture quality looks dark, it's because of the cheap dongle I'm using, and because of I've got it running through a splitter so I can see it on my TV. But hopefully get the idea of what it's supposed to look like from this. And, you can always go online, see some screenshots. Alright, so immediately you can see there's a lot of color applied to the title screen. Applying color to moving elements in Super Game Boy games is a lot of work, but static elements, you can do a lot of tricks with them. And this being a casino-based game, there are a lot of static elements, and this being the kind of game it is, you can really get a lot out of the coloration. You also see this game, and some others, Tetris Blast comes to mind, have multiple borders depending on what part of the game you're in, because the Game Boy game can send a new border to the Super Game Boy anytime it wants, not just on startup. And in emulators, you'll notice that too. Sometimes they have a setting to load a Super Game Boy border, but play the game in Game Boy Color mode. What that's really doing is it's starting the game in Super Game Boy mode just long enough to load the initial border, and then switching and rebooting the game in Game Boy Color mode. And you also notice some emulators like Goomba on the Game Boy they'll only load the initial border, if I remember correctly. It might have been changed since the last time I used it. Anyway, let's go back to the roulette wheel. Take a look at that. So right away, see there's greens and reds in the static graphic. You could even see where the palette was applied when I quit out of it. You can see how it affects the fade. But in any case, you see that instead of grays, there are now oranges, not reds on the screen, but oranges. It has a green and orange color palette applied to, I believe, the whole screen. So I'll just make a pretty similar bet to what I did before. Now, in the graphic of the roulette wheel here, you'll notice has a totally different color than the green area around it. The blacks are black, the reds are actually red, and it's a very nice illustration of what you can do by applying different palettes to different areas of the screen. You can actually get blacks and reds on the roulette wheel. And of course, something that you might not notice initially, but is really nice is the table itself is green, and to be able to apply that familiar color, it's really nice thing to do. I'll go through some of the other games. See how craps works. You've got this one. The screen occupies two different. You basically have to scroll left and right to see it all. So that's an 8. So now I think, if I remember craps correctly, we're hoping that the dice roller rolls 7 before they get another 8. And so my bet's still active. So I'll just press start again, see what the next roll is. 9. Now the game does let me quit out here. Now, I don't know if that's how you work in real craps. I don't know if you can really take your bet off the table like that. Yeah, there's another 8. And so I think the pass means they got another 8 before a 7. If they get another 7 before they get that first roll again, they basically lose, and you're betting how well they do. And of course I do the opposite bet there. Notice the bar 6 is here, so this does, even though it's just a video game, it does maintain the house's edge over the player, at least theoretically, ignoring the fact that you can just reset the game whenever you want. And then, let's check the slots quick to see what they do. So there's not quite as much color here, just reds and yellows. It's not like you see different colors for the different slot symbols, which I think speaks to some of the limitations of what the Super Game Boy can do. But you do see when I bring up the menu, it's applying the standard color palette to the screen, and so the slots briefly change to match the color of the areas around them before I have the menu open and after I close it. So yeah, although you're really seeing the limitations, but also, especially in a graphic like this, where you see the reds of the cards next to the blue everything else, what you can do just basically to impress people, if not actually to improve the playability of your game. Now, we might as well check out the last game on the cartridge. From what I've read, the Super Nintendo version of this game, which I've never seen, but apparently it only has 4 of these 5 games, but it also has multiplayer, something the Super Game Boy version does not have. Super Game Boy games do support multiplayer. Wario Blast is a good example. It can actually support up to 5 with a multi-tap. Alright, so as you can see, most of the games here don't take a whole lot of advantage of the color palette, but you do see the greens a lot of the tables, which is nice, and the roulette wheel itself has reds applied. Ideally, the reds would have been applied to more of the cards, but this obviously the main market for this game is people actually playing it on the go on a Game Boy. So this is what happens when you can do the things that are low effort, but you don't put a lot of time into it, but you at least put a little. One other thing this game has that you might see is occasional interactions with various people that just kind of happen randomly. The idea, I think, is to keep it interesting. And again, this game is not just, it's not like it's some studio you've never heard of. It's Hell Laboratory, who were a big producer of games, still are, but also during this period. So, as generic as this game may seem to someone familiar with more traditional video games, this is basically, it's from a lot of the same people who brought you a lot of very familiar games, which I think is interesting. Alright, that's all I got for now. I should probably put my stuff away so it's not all over my living room floor. And yeah, thank you for watching.